Are you there? I know you did not understand what I said. Let me explain to you. The gospel of the kingdom is not just that people should come and give their lives to Christ. If you have given your life to Christ, that's wonderful. But that's not the goal of the gospel of the kingdom. After you have given your life to Christ, you are supposed to acknowledge Jesus as your king. So in the place of your communion, in the place of your prayer, in the place of your intercession, you must labor you must be intentional to have a working relationship with Jesus Christ. And in that relationship, you give him the place of Lord over your life. So, those that have such a relationship cannot get married without the Lord's input. Those that have such a relationship cannot begin a business without the Lord's input. Those that have such a relationship cannot take any major decision in their lives without that decision deriving from God. They will wait on God for 2 years so that they can understand his mind on the matter. Those are the ones that have this relationship. Are you with me? And you will agree with me that not every believer is like that. It means that believers accept and embrace the gospel of salvation, but most believers have not embraced the gospel of the kingdom. The gospel of the kingdom enthrones Jesus in the capacity of lordship. He is the one that calls the shots and determines what happens, what is obtainable in the lives of his followers. Are you with me? So, the Bible speaking concerning Jesus, this is Paul speaking. And Paul is saying it is by Jesus Christ that he received grace and apostleship. Are you there? Yes. There were 2 things he received. He received grace, enablement. He received capacity. He received ability from Jesus. And also he received a calling into a designation. And the designation of his calling was that of an apostle. Now, this beautiful building you are seeing here, there is no way this building can be in this form with the influence of one professional only. You have people that are experts in brickwork. Are you there? Yes, sir. You have experts in plumbing work. You have experts in electrical work and other kinds of work. So there are different experts that you put together in order for a project to be accomplished. That's how ministry is. One grace cannot build a ministry. Different professionals in the status of grace will need to be put together in order for that which God wants to do in a territory, in a province, in a location, to be established. In this wise, therefore, Paul is saying that he received grace from Jesus. He also received a calling into the designation of an apostle from Jesus Christ. It means his calling came from Jesus, and the grace for him to fulfill his calling also came from Jesus. Just in case he wants to continue with the calling, he will need to be in constant touch with Jesus so that Jesus can make the grace available. Are you there? Yes. At any point in time where he doesn't have access to grace, he doesn't have what it takes to fulfill that calling. At any point in time when he has a quarrel with Jesus, he no longer has the resources required to power that calling of an apostle, because the calling itself came from Jesus, and the grace to uphold the calling also came from where? From Jesus. As long as you stay with Jesus, you'll be safe. It's when you become wiser than the systems that God put in place that you are going to run into crisis. And I've seen a lot of gospel ministers that are no longer in touch with Jesus because they believe they have what it takes to function from the designation that Jesus has placed them. And that's why we have a shipwreck in ministry. So he said, it is from Jesus he received grace, and it's from Jesus he received what? Apostleship. What is the objective of his apostleship? What was the objective of the grace he received? Can you see it there? He said, by whom we have received grace and apostleship. Why? For obedience to the faith among all nations. Now listen. You know I told you that the gospel of the kingdom requires that every believer will operate and acknowledge Jesus as king, as master. And your life, the directives concerning your life, the details concerning your destiny should derive from Jesus. Just like Paul says, the grace I have came from Jesus. The calling I have came from Jesus. So every aspect of your life is supposed to come from his prescription. The gospel of the kingdom is supposed to command obedience. Now, there is a word I need to introduce to us this morning. It's called obedience. Obedience to the faith. The reason why the proof of the success of the gospel of the kingdom is obedience to the faith is because the Jesus of the gospel of the kingdom is a king. And the way to relate favorably with a king is to obey his will. The height, the objective of his apostleship was to bring men to the obedience of the faith. Because in the heart of the gospel of the kingdom, we are dealing with a king, with a monarch. And the way to relate with this monarch is to be obedient to his will. Is that clear? Now, I gave us this background because